Hey everybody, Volkswagen just pulled the covers off of the refreshed 2022 Volkswagen Tiguan. Now the important thing to know is that this is a refresh, not a complete redesign, but it does appear to be a pretty complete refresh, similar to what we see in the Volkswagen Arteon. On the outside, we get a new revised front-end look. It still has the sort of Gillette-style grille that we find in the rest of the Volkswagen lineup, but it also is definitely hungrier and looks a little bit Audi-like from some angles as well. The dimensions of the Tiguan haven't changed for 2021, so this is still on the longer end of the compact crossover segment and one of the very few smaller crossovers in America that has a standard third row. The third row is standard for front-wheel drive models, optional for all-wheel drive models, and it's definitely an option that I would get if shopping for a Tiguan. Now the third row is definitely very, very compact in the back. We've talked about that before, but I'd much rather have an emergency third row than not have one. And if you're looking for a small, easy to park, suburban or urban-friendly crossover with that third row, you have very, very few options. You have the Volkswagen Tiguan, you have the Dodge Journey, which somehow is still being made even after all these decades, and then we have the Mitsubishi Outlander, which is not exactly modern. For some reason, Nissan gave up on the third row in the Rogue, leaving really the Tiguan to be the only modern small crossover that has one. Moving around to the rear, you'll notice that the rear end styling hasn't changed too much. We get Volkswagen's faux exhaust tips at the bottom, so these are not real exhaust tips. You can actually see if you zoom in really closely on these images that the quad exhaust tips that we see back there are definitely not real. The rear end also has a strong Audi vibe to it. Getting the Tiguan right is definitely important for Volkswagen because this is one of the best-selling crossovers in the world. They sold over 900,000 of them globally in 2019, and it's one of their best-selling models in the US as well. They sold over 100,000 of them in the US. Now that's obviously less than the RAV4 and CR-V, which routinely sell over 400,000 units, but Volkswagen sales are definitely climbing, and this is one of the models in their lineup that really seems to be accelerating. I think the reason that Tiguan sales are on the rise in the US is because of the size of the Tiguan. You can really see that when you take a look at some of their sales charts. Back before 2017, the Tiguan was on the smaller end of the scale, then they decided to stretch the one that we get in America. It's not exactly the same Tiguan that is sold in Europe. We get the longer version that is also sold in other world markets, but was really targeted at American tastes. For 2022, Volkswagen is giving us new LED headlamps standard in every trim. We also get new wheels in every trim, from 17 to 20-inch wheels, depending on which trim you get. Unfortunately, as with the last time we tested the Tiguan, the R-Line does not get more power under the hood. We get the same 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine producing 184 horsepower across the Tiguan lineup in the US. However, tire sizes definitely increased drastically. We don't know exact details just yet on the R-Line trim, but I wouldn't be surprised if the wide 255 width tires that we saw for the 2020 and 2019 model years continued for 2021. These are some of the widest tires you'll be able to find on a compact crossover in America, even including entries in the luxury segment. Something like a BMW X1 doesn't even have 255 width tires on it. And that's one of the reasons the Tiguan is an excellent handling option. If you're looking at something like a RAV4 and CR-V and you don't mind giving up a little bit of acceleration, but you want excellent handling, that's exactly where the Tiguan is playing. And of course, you have that third row. Because the Tiguan is riding on one of Volkswagen's modern crossover platforms, we have all of the latest gadgets and gizmos coming for 2021. That's a little bit different than we see in the Passat, for instance. We get the full LCD instrument cluster with the latest software, and we have the new MIB3 infotainment system that definitely feels more advanced than what we saw the last time we drove the Tiguan, which was really only about a month or so ago. Bundled with this is the new capacitive touch steering wheel that enables some of Volkswagen's more interesting active safety technologies and driver assistance technologies, because the vehicle will be able to tell that you're actually holding onto the steering wheel. A lot of cars are testing whether you're holding onto the steering wheel just by steering torque. They feel you pulling on the steering wheel, but the Volkswagen system has a sensor in there to actually sense that your hands are on the wheel. We also get Volkswagen's latest touch controls for the infotainment system that definitely has a more modern vibe than what we've seen before. These are essentially the same controls and same infotainment systems and LCD instrument cluster that we also see in the Volkswagen Arteon. If you don't want to pony up for the full LCD instrument cluster, Volkswagen says that there's going to be a new 8-inch LCD instrument cluster that's standard, and if you want to pay extra, then you get the 10-inch screen that we've seen in most of the press release photos. As we see in a number of other new cars for 2021, we also get wireless app connect for your smartphone devices. That's a really handy feature. Obviously, there are going to be wireless charging mats in the car as well. And then there's configurable ambient lighting that tells us there'll be 15 different colors. Speaking of colors, we have new interior and exterior colors available as well. We don't know pricing details just yet. I expect it's going to stick pretty close to 2020, and we know that there are going to be 4 different trims. There's going to be S, SE, SE with the R line, and SEL R line. S is going to give you the standard 17-inch alloy wheels, the LED headlights and tail lights, the multifunction touch steering wheel that we saw in the pictures there, and the 8-inch digital cockpit. We'll also get heated front seats standard, which is kind of a nice touch. The SE trim bumps things up to 18-inch wheels. We also get the automatic climate control, radar adaptive cruise control with the lane keeping assist. The SER line is where we add 19-inch wheels, and then the SELR line gets 20-inch alloy wheels, the larger digital instrument cluster, ambient lighting, the predictive adaptive cruise control, etc. We don't have too many details just yet, but it does appear that the interior is still going to be fairly monochromatic, very similar to what we saw in the 2020 model year vehicle. There are going to be a number of different upholstery choices as well as colors inside and outside, but the majority of the interior still does remain black. One of the reasons we don't know any pricing details just yet is that we aren't going to be seeing the Tiguan until calendar year 2020, and it seems like pretty late. Volkswagen has said that it's probably going to be coming sometime around summer or fall of calendar year 2021, so still about 12 months away. I'm a little bit surprised that it's taking so long to get us the Tiguan because it's going to be available in Europe sometime over the next few months or so, probably by the fall of calendar year 2020, but in America, we're going to get it a full year later. On my wish list for the Tiguan would include a little bit more power under the hood for the R-Line version and a few more color choices on the inside, but I think the Tiguan is still a really solid option, especially if you're looking for something with that extra space in the rear. As we noted in our recent review that may not have come out yet, you may be seeing that in the next few days or so, the Tiguan has an enormous amount of cargo area, and you can fit a surprising number of bags in the rear. Even if you don't choose the third row option, the second row seats still slide forward and backward, allowing you to put 4 adults in the vehicle and still about 7 or 8 24-inch roller bags in the back. So if you're looking at something like a RAV4 and CR-V and you just wish that the cargo area was a little bit bigger, but the interior was still very comfortable, then the Tiguan is going to be an excellent option. I think that they've managed to find the Goldilocks just right size here. This is smaller than a Toyota Highlander, but it's really not that much less practical. On the other hand, it is less expensive, and yet we find some premium touches on the inside for less than you'd find them over there in the Toyota Highlander, like the big LCD instrument cluster, the excellent handling, the infotainment system, etc. These are features that you'll find at a lower price there than you will in the next category up, the average 3-row crossover. Be sure and let me know what you think about everything down there in the comment section below. Are you interested in the Volkswagen Tiguan? And like me, do you wish that it had just a little bit more power? I don't think I need 300 horsepower or anything like that in the Volkswagen Tiguan, but I wish it was a little bit more competitive with some of the more modern 200, 220 horsepower options that are in this segment. The Tiguan is going to be a little bit slower in all likelihood unless they've somehow worked some real magic with the engine than something like a Toyota RAV4 hybrid. Now, in other world markets, we do have diesel options, we have hybrid options available in the Tiguan, but for some reason in the US, we just have that one engine on offer. Let me know what you think about all that down there, and of course, stay tuned for our full drive review just as soon as we can get our hands on it. I'll see all of you later.